Hi everyone, I'm Eric.
And I'm Christopher.
And we're Grow For Me Gardening. Today we're doing a full September garden tour.
Welcome back to our garden here in beautiful upstate New York. We are in zones 5B/6A. It is a picture perfect late September day. So we're going to take you through the entire garden and show you what is looking its absolute best at this time of year. To my right, the Surefire Rose Begonia has been giving us color all season. It has not stopped once. And everyone, it is official. It won Eric over.
It did.
In the beginning of the season, he thought it might be too intense of a color. Here in front of this trio of Checkmark Trilogy Weigela, which is underplanting a columnar Scotch pine. I think this trio of texture and color actually works really well, although we might need to bump this out just the tiniest bit next year, Eric. What do you think?
I agree, and I think that that Surefire Rose Begonia, which can grow in sun or shade, right?
Yes.
I think that that is really good for this spot because this gets all morning sun.
Absolutely. And then behind that, I noticed we have a little Jardin birdcage trellis over a Newly Noir coleus. This is not for support. The Newly Noir is perfectly capable of standing up. I think it's just that Eric ran it over with the lawnmower a couple times. So he's just nudging it that way.
Well, it's one of those things where as you're mowing, I'm just going to be a little informal right now. Like you're coming around with the mower this way and you're going around the corner and then boom, I would just keep hitting it. So I decided to give it a little bit of extra protection.
That's awesome. And actually, look how good this looks up against the Lime Ricky. This green chartreusey hydrangea bloom up. This is another nice trio here. This is a great time of year in the garden because colors are changing and getting a little more intense as the nights get cooler. And I find that some of the color combinations really pop. We have our Brandywine Viburnum showing both its blue and pink berries.
That is really cool.
This always cracks me up. And the first couple of years we had this, it was very sprawling horizontal, but now it's really giving us that nice vertical shape and the glossy foliage.
I really wanted to be able to see it from inside the house.
Yeah, we certainly can now. And we gave this a big haircut, this whole area recently. And the sunlight getting to the light o'day hydrangea has given so much more variegation to the leaves. It actually is reminding me of a hosta at the moment. Really pretty.
Wait, let me just linger on this one grouping of leaves. That is gorgeous. So even though this hydrangea hasn't bloomed for us in years at this point, we keep it around for this foliage.
It's worth it. It absolutely is worth it. Up above is the pollarded dappled willow. This year it didn't give us a lot of dapple. It gave us a little bit more of a green with a little mottle more than a dapple. And below that is the Limelight Prime, doing its prime pink right now. We have a whole collection of hostas and Virginia and Brunnera. I gotta get those B words out. Just kind of spaced out through here. We have a few additions and a few subtractions coming in the next week or so. Just to give some more diversity, give some more bright pops. Everything has gotten a little dark in this region.
Can I just point out right here, Christopher?
Yes.
These Brunnera are ones that we did not cut back in the summer. We decided to experiment and just let them go full on through the year. And they look really tired and a little bit burnt. And we do have some that we can show you later that we did cut back flush to the ground.
After that first bloom stalk.
Yes.
Some of them we just cut the bloom stalks off. Some of them we let everything go. And some we cut the whole plant to the ground.
And those look really fresh right now.
Those really do. These that we left the whole thing up, not so hot this time of year. So we now know we're going to be cutting them after the bloom all the way to the ground. The next little group here we have Invincible Ruby Hydrangea, one of my favorite Annabelle or arborescence type hydrangeas. I'm loving that. Below that is an alternating zigzag pattern of two different coral bells. One is Pistachio Ambrosia and one is Dressed Up Ball Gown. See, that took me a second, Eric.
And I had it at the tip of my tongue.
And the idea is they both have a similar color, but Dressed Up Ball Gown's a little more ruffly in the leaves, and the Primo Pistachio is a little bit more rounded, lobed leaves. And it just gives a little definition, and we have some more in what looks like a little mini garden nursery under our pergola that's going to extend up through here just to give a little bit more of that border look to it. It's so pretty. It also repeats the color of this friend, who I think is getting the big haircut next year, Eric.
It's definitely going to get some pruning next year. It is supposed to get 4 to 6 feet tall and wide.
This is the Winecraft Gold Smoke Bush. It's so healthy and so happy. It's painful to have to cut it back, but there is a window into our living room right there that is currently rather shady. So we'll probably be making that adjustment sooner than later.
Although the cats love it because they can watch the birds play around in the smoke bush.
That is true. The Aphrodite sweet shrub, Eric gave a massive haircut to as well. It's already putting out some new growth. It's got such a bold, beautiful foliage, and it smells so good. When you crush the leaves, you get this kind of pineapple-y smell. I believe it's part of the allspice family of plants. Below that is some pink Shebly lamium. This was originally 4 plants that we had in a hanging basket years ago, and we just planted them in the ground, and they have spread beautifully. The entire back of this area just gets covered with them. They don't like the heat of the summer, but right now they are flushing back, giving us all these little blooms and lots of variegation. Behind the Invincibelle Spirit 2 is a standard quickfire. Love that color.
Great fall color on this.
And a really nice contrast to the Invincibelle Spirit 2 blooms that have taken on a little bit of a green.
Yeah, don't be afraid to pair hydrangeas with hydrangeas in your garden, because what happens is you get the early blooms with this Invincibelle Spirit 2, and then you get the later blooms with the Panicle hydrangea.
And then the variation in leaf color, these are much darker. Those are a little bit more of a true green. I love that. Under here, we had attempted to do some Supertunia Mini Vista Indigo, and somehow a Supertunia Mini Vista Ultramarine got in here as well. This was nice just for a little cooling blue color. As we go over here to the Bobo, under the Hetzi columnar juniper, I can't believe how much this thing has grown. It's really fun. We're at the point now after 6 years in our house that some of our earliest small plantings are now, they're becoming grown-up trees.
I know, that was very tiny when we planted it, but we planted it so that it kind of, you know, it adds that visual buffer into the backyard from the street.
And then the Bobo here, repeating over here on this side, which is kind of like a puffy cloud that sets off the Gothic Arch that has finally been completely covered by the generous gardener David Austin Rose. Couple blooms are still popping out, but we're going to leave this now for hips. I think this is going to look so cool once the leaves fall and we just have the goldeny hips.
Bright orange, golden these hips are.
That is so fun.
And I see more down here.
Oh, yeah. And then, of course, the Betty Corning clematis has already finished blooming. But this was remarkable.
Curly-Q whirligig seed heads.
This was, honestly, it was remarkable to watch this season, as sometimes they were blooming at the same time, sometimes they were taking turns almost, and now that it's completely covered, I mean, it's that romantic garden arch, makes it feel like, you know, stepping right out of some kind of English garden.
This is Bathsheba, newly planted this summer for us on our trellis. I can't get over how well this rose has done for being in the ground for just a handful of months.
That is the fresh bloom right there.
Very pretty. You might remember when we planted it, it was probably like this big. Planted it deep. There is a video about that. We have our 3 trellises that we zip tied together, and then we hung them on the fence with the vinyl fence hooks. Really keeps that trellis nice and sturdy for the rose. And that brings us to the hydrangea room. It starts with a hedge of Invincibelle rubies, and then the back row alternates Invincibelle Sublime. Here's a fresh bloom.
Beautiful.
Here's a more faded bloom. These will eventually get very large. They'll get about 4 to 5 feet tall and wide, and then they'll all be touching and smushed together. I can't wait for that. But the back row alternates Invincibelle Lace, Invincibelle Sublime. The front row alternates Incredible White and Incredible Blush. We placed our bench right here. This is, a lot of people on Instagram ask me about this. It's just polywood.
Yeah, I think that we may have gotten this one on Costco.
We did. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. But Christopher, you did just walk around our Royal Frost birch tree. I forgot to point it out. I'm sorry.
Back up, back up, back up, back up, back up, back up, back up.
Beautiful dark foliage, but I love the bark on that tree.
One of the earliest to defoliate this season.
I know. It does. Every year it loses leaves pretty early, but 'tis the season. So the hydrangea hedge or mixed hydrangea border transitions into our east border heading into the backyard. One of my favorite moments, which right now is not really at its peak, but it's the Kinsley Ghost Honeysuckle. Again, on that same trellis setup with the Winecraft Black Smoke Bush, the Magic Show Ever After Veronica, and the Peach Berry Ice Coral Bells, and a little Mugo Pine, and a little blue stem grass. Is that Twilight?
This is Twilight Zone. This is when blue stem grasses really hit their stride.
It's a really cool color, and I just really like this combination. We have emptied out all of our urns. As we go around the garden, you'll see that. We do have a plan for them. We're excited to share. But check out the Eastern Redbud tree. You might remember that we pruned it up pretty intensely this spring, and I was kind of nervous. I was like, oh, I think we ruined it, but we did not.
No,
I think it looks even better.
I really do. It's a very whimsical structure tree. Right now, of course, it looks a little like a blob, but the structure of this tree, it's just the branching is really cool. Eric, there are blooms that I just spotted on the inside of our redbud tree.
Are.
Is that a happy tree thing, Eric?
I don't know. Down here, we have a sprinter boxwood. You're going to notice throughout our garden that we have lots of repetition of boxwoods. They're everywhere. And during the growing season, they just kind of give a little moment of rest for the eye. But coming up soon in late fall and throughout the winter, they are going to be the main component of the garden. So just kind of keep your eye out for those as we go through the garden, under the arch. To the right or left, Christopher?
You know what? Let's go in, because we normally go to the outside, but let's go inside
All
this
right.
time.
This is our part shade, part sun garden right here. We have a pagoda dogwood tree, which I think this is the year it's getting limbed up.
Oof.
It's important when your trees are young is when you do the majority of your pruning on them. So this whole bottom tier right here, gonna get chopped off this spring probably. Behind that is a Gatsby pink oak leaf hydrangea. But Christopher, can you get in there and show us the bug vein? I love that little perennial.
Yep, the pink spires bug vein. Very cool.
Just popping up back there, really pretty. This area down here is gonna get reworked with some new perennials. Not quite sure what or how yet, but I think it's going to involve some heucherellas.
Oh yes, maybe
Most
Red
likely.
Rover.
Maybe Red Rover. I hesitate to put red there because of the dark foliage here on the Boom Chocolata, which some people always ask if we deal with powdery and mildew. This is probably the only plant we deal with it on.
Yeah, I would think so.
I think Boom Chocolata looks pretty rough this time of year, but in the spring and early summer, it's so gorgeous that it's worth it. John's Dilly Alberta Spruce, that's practically full size for it. That's an Isley specimen that we planted there.
Cute little guy back there.
Weeping Ruby Falls Redbud. And then that takes us into the hedge of Invincibelle Sublime, which some of them, some of the blooms a little burnt, some of the blooms pretty fresh, but it's the end of September. This is kind of what you can expect in the garden. Then coming around this way, Our Lady of Shalott Rose Hedge, which is along our wall on the north side of our house. I was looking at this the other day and just, they were planted in 2022 and they were so small, and now we're getting that exact look that we wanted, that billowing, happy rose hedge. Our Katarina Fountain from Campania International, Walker's Low Catmint, and Midnight Wine Shine Weigela. Look at the color contrast of this foliage, and it's called Midnight Wine Shine because the foliage is shiny.
I'm not gonna lie, this is one of those workhorse little kind of accent shrubs that I think this is underappreciated and needs more love.
It's really a great, great for board. Like we repeated it on the other side here too. And it's kind of whimsical and fun because it's very branchy, but it's also very grounded because of the dark foliage color.
Over here in the center of the patio garden, as we call it, you can see the star of the show was the Tottering by Gently Rose. One of the things that I have read and I'm very excited about for this season is this is known to produce gorgeous hips that we could decorate with or just enjoy in the garden. Down below, you can already see some have turned a really vibrant red-orange color. You dive in there, Eric, see that?
I do see that. And there are a lot more on the way.
Yes, this is going to be covered in that orangey color. Behind that is the Verbena bonariensis, still a pollinator magnet, probably dropping trillions of seeds, but that's okay. We know that we can pull those seeds really easy. Come springtime, we'll just leave the ones we want behind. And then, of course, the rock and play and the blue salvia, the must-have annual that will forever be in our garden. I really enjoy this. I love that it blooms nonstop from the moment it goes in the ground. Coming around over here is the Let's Dance Sky View hydrangea. You can see some old blooms, you can see some mid blooms, but look at the new blooms here with my little bee friend. The little pistachio centers, and we did not acidify a second time on this, so the soil must be somehow kind of neutralish if we're getting that pinky purple. Oh, look at that contrast.
I love it.
Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous.
And we are going to protect these this winter.
Yes, we have those awesome plant protectors. They are ready to go. They're in the garage. That's going to be a fun day when we finally get out here to do the protecting. Here on the Jardin Tower, we have a third flush of the Sensation honeysuckle. The other morning I came outside and the entire garden was perfumed with this gorgeous honeysuckle.
I can smell it right now just standing here.
It really is awesome. And then once that finishes, it'll put out these little red berries. And it's a very fall look to have little clusters of
And the
red
birds
berries.
love the berries. They're on this trellis all the time.
Constantly. Boscabelle. I love Boscabelle because the way that this blooms for us is it puts out a beautiful flush, and then every single rose finishes at the same time, and then it goes to sleep for a while, and then it comes back and flushes beautiful, and then they all go to sleep. So it's not like a constant bloomer. It's a big flush, rest, big flush, rest. Below that is a pretty exciting new addition for 2025. Proven Winners is coming out with these kufiyas that don't look like those little tube-shaped cigar flowers. They're a little more of a star shape. This is the Totally Tempted Vivid Violets. I like this one.
I like this one too.
It's a really pretty color. I've enjoyed that a lot. Some more of the Sprinter Boxwoods and Verbena. Below the Green Gable Black Gum Tree. This hasn't started its fall color yet, but it will be a fiery red color.
Oh, I think I see one teeny tiny bit of fiery red.
Perfect.
That'll be the whole tree in just a few weeks.
And the reason we placed the red tree here is that right behind me is a Princeton Century Ginkgo that will get a gorgeous yellow color to give us a little of that contrast. And then there's a river birch way in the back that'll be a different kind of yellow. Eric has pulled the African marigolds that were below. They had passed their prime. This is the tall blue planet ageratum. I think we need to do a really cute, tightly clipped boxwood hedge.
Like a mini boxwood?
Mini boxwood hedge, like a foot tall, foot wide, perfect square. And then every year plant something different in the middle.
I do love that contrasting look of like a tightly clipped boxwood hedge with a billowing annual behind it.
And I keep seeing plumbago. And if I can get the plumbago from seed, that would be really fun right there. I do love that blue color. Steady Eddie Viburnum has been steadily blooming all season long. It's gotten a nice little shape to it. They've put on some good growth. I'm very pleased with how these are doing.
And I really love the lace cap style flowers on them.
Really, really nice. Below that is a Tater Tot Arborvitae. It's kind of tucked in here on its lonesome, but I think it's done so well for us. Here is some Midnight Sun Weigela. It has beautiful reddish tones throughout the season, but this is when this plant shines. Over here we have berries on the Snowfire Aronia,
which should be getting some beautiful fall color on it.
Yeah, this will get some nice fall color on it. This was a plant this was its final try. We gave it 2 seasons to see if it would make it for us, and it's doing so well that I think it may have passed the test.
I think it did.
Behind that is a dahlia that is called Kelgai Ann.
Really pretty.
This will definitely be getting dug up. I need to see if I can take seeds from this, because I'm wondering what would happen if this dahlia was pollinated by a floret.
Oh,
flower from
interesting.
over yonder. So this water lily style, I'm gonna look. All right, Eric, don't move too far. I'm gonna move to you. Oh, these are kind of spent, but this is the reminiscent pink rose. Our beautiful overcast sun is being replaced by gorgeous September sun. But this rose has done phenomenal. Look at how healthy this foliage is. It has not gotten any fungus. This has not been sprayed or treated in probably 6 to 8 weeks. I haven't done anything to this rose. Also, I cannot believe how big this rose is.
I know.
This is hysterical. The good thing is it's going to keep up with the fact that Quickfire Fab is right behind it, which will ultimately get 6 to 8 feet tall.
And check out, here's a fresher bloom. Here's what they fade to.
I'm fascinated by this plant, not just because it's got such big florets and big, huge panicles and the strong stems and the beautiful color, but it's still putting out fresh blooms.
Yeah, look behind that one. There's a whole new fresh one back there.
Yeah, this plant, it is the hydrangea that keeps on giving. And I'll tell you, I have been seeing more and more gardeners planting this particular variety. I think this is a winner, you might say.
A proven winner?
A proven winner. Oh my gosh, that's so cheesy.
The inside of this garden is a little tight right now because we moved some chairs out of the way to store our big perennial delivery. I mean, check that out, Christopher. A lot of it is going to our friend's garden that we are redoing. But a lot of it's going in our garden, believe it or not.
It looks like a garden center, and I love that.
It really is nice to see fresh foliage in there. But this is the inside, and I'm trying not to step on everything, but I have big feet. This is the Rock and Play and the Blues, as we said before, but in here is a hedge of Tough Stuff Top Fun hydrangea. It's a mountain hydrangea. Check out the new fresh buds, Christopher. That purpley blue is really exciting to me because that means that we're going to get purpley blue blooms.
Love it.
Spent Serendipity Allium. This is a hedge of Supertunia Mini Vista Plum Veined. It did very well all season long. We have stopped, we barely fertilized our annuals at all this year.
Yeah,
right?
we did slack. We 100% slacked.
Totally slacked, and they still performed really strongly. I think right now they're probably either getting tuckered out or there might be a little bit of budworm on them. Either way, we don't care because they're probably getting pulled this weekend or next. And Christopher, if you continue to back up, or if I switch places with you.
Let's switch a little bit.
Look at Flavorette Honey Apricot Rose. This is one of my favorite roses in the garden because I love the cupped shape of it. I love the buttery yellow center into the pinky apricot. Super healthy foliage.
I did stick my face in that this morning. It's
Smells
incredible.
beautiful. I love this combination with the Verbena bonariensis. Here is our corn, which, to be totally honest, we absolutely neglected. We never thinned it. We never fertilized it. We just
stuck it,
planted it and left it. And I'm happy with the texture. I'm happy with the height and interest it adds. But if we do have some ears of corn on there.
I think we're going to get baby ears of corn. Oh,
yeah.
There's one right in front. I have to get in here.
There
oh my
are
gosh.
a lot of them. I'm not sure what they'll taste like. And because the hair is all faded, they should be ready to harvest. In theory, we just...
Oh, there's one.
Yeah, I mean, let's take a look.
Let's see, did we get a corn?
I mean, in theory, this should be ready. And we did.
This was Eden corn from Johnny Seeds. Oh
Wow.
my goodness. It did pretty well. It didn't fully pollinate, but that's corn.
Yeah, we totally neglected them this year and they still did pretty well. So next year, what we would do is we would thin the corn. We'd make sure to fertilize it with some fish fertilizer. And in the past, I've tried to ensure that everything gets pollinated by using a leaf blower or shaking the plants or anything like that. But I bet if we ate this, it would be pretty tasty.
It's gonna be sweet.
So I'm gonna just close this back up and I'm gonna set it right here and we'll be back. We cleaned out the 2025 annual trials. They were fine.
They were fine. We didn't have any that were things that we would replant. I would say not necessarily performance, more just not our taste.
Yeah, not our vibe. But we still have peppers coming, which is great. Strawberries have really picked up now that the weather's getting a little bit cooler. I've brought in a ton of pumpkins to work and given them to coworkers.
The little Jack B. Littles, they're so cute.
I think we're ready for a little lettuce harvest for some fresh greens
Ooh, we're
for
gonna have a
dinner.
salad.
Radishes. I don't remember what these are. But
Mizuna.
and what's that, a green?
It's a Japanese leafy green.
All right. Celery. Delightful. Rosemary. Lots of beans. We're probably actually letting the beans go a little far. The zinnias. This is Alpenglow zinnia collection from Floret.
Ooh.
And we're letting them all go to seed so we can collect.
Yes, from far away. Isn't that funny? This time of year, that's the one I'm looking for because this one's ready to be harvested for seeds.
Oregano and parsley and sage. There's
Basil.
We took out the tomatoes, took out the eggplants, took out the peppers. There's some peppers in here. This time of year, everything's just kind of,
It's doing
going.
its thing.
Now, what was this? Because it's very popular with something eating it.
That was bok choy.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense that it's getting eaten because bok choy is delicious. So.
You know what would be interesting? I also see the beets have also succumbed to that. This would be a case where we would want to get one of those row covers.
Okay.
So I think we may want to invest for next year in one of those little, it almost looks like the crop coop, the metal over there.
Uh-huh.
It looks similar to that, but it's covered.
Okay.
And we could pop that over here so light and water get through, but no buggies eat our bok choy.
Gotcha. Lots of beans still with the cardinal vine. Look at this, Christopher. Berry Heavy Gold Winterberry.
So nice.
We have 3 of them here, and we have the pollinator, Mr. Poppins, up there. The Berry Heavy Gold Winterberry, they're female hollies. They're ilex, right?
Yes.
And they need a male pollinator, Mr. Poppins, to cross-pollinate.
And I got to tell you, when they say berry heavy, it is loaded.
It is a
berries.
lot of berries. Little Lime Punch, which is Little Lime, but improved to be even punchier colored. And above that is our Diana Contorted Larch, which as the new growth is forming, is starting to grow more upright, which I think is really cool.
It is funny, right? Like the center leader stays perfectly straight, but everything that grows off the central leader is contorted. So those of you who garden in pairs know that sometimes you come outside and you discover a big change has happened. A big change happened while I was at work yesterday. The Carolina Sweetheart Redbud that has put out incredible growth was growing in a lot of the wrong directions. So Eric came through and pruned out some of those low branches, giving this the opportunity to really become a statement tree here in the garden. I love this, Eric. That was such a good choice.
It had to be done. Every time I walked by it, I ran into it and I thought, well, this is going to get pruned eventually. Better do it while it's young.
Yeah, it's always good to do it young. And I mean, that'll heal up and it will be perfect. Good job, Eric. As we come into this area, it's a shady, but not super shady because it gets the absolute hottest heat of the afternoon sun. The morning light miscanthus, one of our favorite grasses. I think it gets just enough sun from that late afternoon action. Below that is a spilled wine Weigela.
Don't forget the Sarcocoa.
Oh, and there's a Sarcocoa tucked in back there. That is a sweet and low. It will bloom in the winter. And eventually it will start to get a little size on it. That was planted as a pretty small specimen.
And a bleeding heart.
That is Pink Diamonds.
I
Love that
combo, yeah.
Now in full bloom is the Sun King Aurelia, one of those plants where the fact that it's a perennial blows your mind. This is bigger than a lot of shrubs. Every year it puts on this beautiful chartreuse show. I looked out the window yesterday and it was completely covered in pollinators. We are going to be dividing this since it has gotten a bit of a bully.
3. I think we're gonna cut into 3. I have 2 other spots in mind for
I
it.
think that's a good idea. Above that, we still have some of the lavender mist thalictrum. We let this go to seed. Can you believe this is another perennial? 9 feet, 10 feet tall in one season.
And we're
So
leaving
good.
that up. Just spread those seeds.
Spread the seeds. Behind that are Gatsby Moon oak leaf hydrangeas. They are bulking up. Eventually, they're going to get the same size as our pink Gatsby's or Gatsby pink oak leaf hydrangeas. They're just beautiful, and they have a really dense white flower that I'm looking forward to enjoying next year. Look at this new begonia.
This is a hardy begonia that Greg gave us when we visited his garden.
It will spread a little bit, but look at that flower.
So pretty. And it's hardy, which I think is so cool.
Amazing. Down here are the Jack of Diamonds Brunnera that we cut to the ground earlier this season after they had finished blooming. You can see that the leaves are not as big, but to get this clean of a foliage at this point in the season, I love that. In front of that is New Hampshire purple geranium that it just kind of intermingles with this so nicely.
This is one of my favorite color and texture moments in our garden.
And this is the Bloodgood Japanese maple. It did a lot better this year with the fungus, that little red spot that we were getting. It had some earlier in the year, but the new growth didn't take it on. So that is fantastic. Come on up here, Eric. Let's look at the containers before they have their big changeover. This is Thunderbird, yes, Mangave. This is going to be going inside. Ow, that is really sharp.
They are very sharp.
Wow. This is not hardy, you know, this kind of tropical, certainly not. So this is going to go inside. Look at the symmetry of it as you go from above, Eric. Isn't that cool?
It's very cool.
This, I don't know where we're going to put this, but it's going somewhere. And this is Night Owl. We had a smaller specimen, but it's filling out this container quite quickly. I'm very impressed with that. So our full sun containers are past their prime. Double Moon Glow, Osteospermum. This is one of my new favorites. And it's a daisy style flower. It's got creamy yellow on the outside, bright yellow on the inside. This has done really nicely all season long. The Supertunia Saffron Finch, I've really enjoyed that as a bright pop in the garden. Mini Vista Indigo, of course. And I would say that Superbena is something that we love to look at, but it is not performed as reliably for us. I'm not sure if it's user error, but you know what? There's so many other annuals, so maybe we won't do a Superbena next year. This we definitely will be doing. This is Augusta Lavender Heliotrope. In the container, it got a little more of a spindly appearance. In the ground, it's much sort of more compact, thicker, and performs better, but that could also be because we had not been as fertilizing as much.
And it gets more consistent water in the ground because of the drip. And all of these are hand watered.
That's
so
true.
If we forgot, which you can tell by some of these crispy moments.
Yes, we certainly did.
We forgot for a week or two.
We will be getting new containers for this spot. We're going to be simplifying and going with individual large containers for the 4 spots.
Sure are. So these containers will be going to a new home.
Yes. An annual, that's another must-have. Selenia Yellow Begonia. In the heat of the summer, this took a bit of a rest, but for the most part, especially now that it's cooling off, it is so rich and so lovely. I really enjoy that one. Eric has harvested a lemon from our lemon tree.
Our very first lemon. It's a Meyer lemon tree.
We're going to have to make a very, very small, a curd. We'll make a very tiny curd.
The smallest lemon curd
Just 1 spoon of lemon curd. Look at how icy blue this time of year. The Moffat Blue Juniper also going in the ground.
I know, it's hard to believe.
As long as we can get it out of this container.
No, we're going to have to do some massive root pruning on it to get it out.
Because keep in mind, Eric trimmed this up this year. This would probably be another foot wide this type of year. Into more of a part sun area, and you can actually see where the line of more full sun is, because the new for next year Mini-Me Chartreuse Coleus does not like as much sun. So it's done well here, not as well here. And this is Aromance Aromagica Heliotrope. I think I like the Augusta Lavender Heliotrope better, even though this is a little more traditional of a look. Again, could be a user error, but I do think...
They did say it was supposed to get 30 inches tall. I think that's about 12 inches tall.
Yeah, I'm also wondering if this needs to be an absolute hot sun to really thrive. But I like this Alyssum. This time of year, this is kind of doing a show for us. It was a little rough for the beginning of the season. Let's see. This is all, I mean, Nulina Warcoleus, total workhorse. I really enjoy that one. And then lastly, on the inside area, Boston Fern, which I think we could technically bring inside, but these are so inexpensive at Home Depot at the beginning of the season. I don't know if we want to put the work into saving it because they can get messy.
We'll see where we're at.
The hanging baskets, they're hanging in there. The summer wave large blue Terrenia are taking on kind of a bicolor bloom look right now. They're very pretty. And the begonias, the apple blossom here, and then as I spin,
The primrose. Oh, there's a primrose.
it's such a beautiful combination. I think it might be a tough combination for our light. And we also learned that if we fertilized too much, the Terrenia started stopping and the begonias came out, and then we would stop fertilizing, and the Terrenia came out and the begonias were a little bit behind. But it's a gorgeous looking combination. So if you really dialed in exactly what the plants need, I think it would be a total success.
Well, it's funny. We have the same combination right here, Christopher, in less sun. Right here.
Yes. And that Terrenia has now climbed all the way into this fern. The begonias are looking clean. So maybe, is it a sun thing?
I don't know. It could also just be a water thing, honestly, because we did slack off on fertilizing and watering.
I hear ya. We're going to be bringing in our houseplants. These are from Leaf Joy. I've enjoyed that. The Amstel King ficus. This is kind of pretty. I have a Calathea orbifolia at work that is about 3 or 4 times this size. So I know the potential of this plant, and I love this plant so much. Jungle Cat Alocasia. This is going to be a tough one to bring inside because you really got to have a place that can get the height.
I have a spot in mind.
Oh, good.
By the printer.
Oh, that's perfect. This is the Living Lace Divana Fern. When we bought it, it actually came in these little hanging baskets, and we used the vinyl siding hooks that we discovered to hang these in the little pattern here. There was a plastic liner that I cut out and then sunk the little pot back into the basket. So when these water, they drain right through. I would like to repot these, and I think these are going with me to work as well because I love them.
I also want to put some in our bathroom.
Ooh, yes, I like that. I just feel like I need this at work.
As we come through the arbor, we are moving to the left this time, and underneath the eastern redbud, we have a trio of Tough Stuff hydrangeas. These are a very hardy hydrangea. We are still going to cover them, though, this winter because we want to experiment and see if we can get some more blooms off of them earlier in the spring. So even though they will definitely survive the winter, those buds that they're setting for next year, if you look right here, Christopher, you can see right in there. Those are next year's blooms.
And we want to protect those because they might not be hardy, but the plant itself is hardy.
And if you didn't want to protect them and those buds did freeze off next spring, they would still send out a second flush later in the season. We have a little river of Dark Side of the Moon Astilbe. This is Bumble Sky Meadow Sage.
Bumble Sky Meadow Sage.
It's a really nice drift of it. I do need to get in there and weed a little bit. I see some grass has worked its way in there.
A little bit.
Back there is a really epic blue stem. Look at that burgundy. It's not even burgundy. It's like cherry almost.
Yeah, Blackhawk's blue stem is a stunning plant.
The gold cone juniper. I love how tidy the gold cone juniper shape is. It's full and lush. This right here is a Wine and Roses Weigela. It's getting replaced with something super duper cool next spring.
Next spring, yes.
And the Wine and Roses Weigela is a classic, but this one for us has never really thrived. So we're just going to replace it, and that's okay. Faded peony foliage, Serendipity allium. Right here, we have a quickfire hydrangea, a pinky winky hydrangea, and another quickfire hydrangea, backed by this really cool castor bean that Christopher grew from seed. I love the foliage. I love the stem. I like the color that it brings, the texture. It's really cool. A beautiful drift of Fall in Love Sweetly anemone, which always looks great in September into October. Now, here's something strange, Christopher. our Autumn Joy Sedum. It seems very late, right?
It's very late. It hasn't bloomed yet. Those are, see right here, that little pale color?
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. The little pale color, that's the bloom. It's coming.
But look, it also looks like it dried out a bit.
Interesting. We did have a pretty rough dry spell just as this would have been starting to bloom. So we'll see. We'll see how this goes.
More of that heliotrope. Now, this is the heliotrope that was up on the terrace in the container. You can see it's fresher looking down here. I think it gets steadier water and it gets sprinkler water.
It's a really pretty color.
The in-lawn sprinkler system. Oh, so easy peasy roses really bloomed the majority of the season. Tromnar blue spruce. Now that is going to get about 14 feet tall, 7 to 8 feet wide, I believe, in 10 years. And then after that, it will keep going to who knows how big. But we're going to worry about that then.
We'll worry about that then. that is what we're going to worry about then.
A nice grouping of Let's Dance lovable hydrangeas. These were just planted this past spring as little tiny 1 gallons. I think they've done pretty well.
I agree. They
didn't grow as robustly as some of the other things we planted, but I do see new blooms. They are a rebloomer, and it looks like for next year, we're going to be set with lots of blooms.
Eric, would you agree that newer hydrangea varieties that we've been planting, they take a minute to get established, and then they are incredible?
Yes, because some of the improvements in breeding require the shrub to get a little bit more established before it really, really shines. Oh, I skipped over Anna's Magic Ball. That nice chartreusey evergreen. That's going to be a nice pop. The spacing right now looks a little funny, but I actually, for once, really planned ahead for spacing, knowing that these were going to get about 3 to 4 feet tall and wide. This is, again, 3 to 4 feet tall and wide. So I thought that that would be a good spot for that one. Coming over here, more verbena, some, not Fall in Love Sweetly, this is Sweet Romance lavender. Our Jensen urn with our Greenwich pedestal. Now, Christopher, I thought that these Cascade hydrangeas were goners. But if you look, it does look like next year's buds are there.
Oh, they are there.
So it dropped some fall leaves, but there are buds for next year there. So they're not goners.
This is good to know.
I do think that this is way too dry. We didn't have enough drip on this by any means, because it's just like as dry as can be. But the verbena liked that.
Yeah, the verbena was fine with it. And you know, it's funny. I think I counted out with my mitters that this was getting 6 gallons a day.
I mean, that could be, but I think because the bowl is so shallow and it's cast stone,
it needs more.
It needed a little bit more. And then come back here. This area, we're getting into like reworking territory. Back here, there is a drift of Nosferatu daylilies. I really want to pull them.
Same.
I mean, look, it looks so terrible. There's also a drift of Cotton Candy Thalictrum, which is a meadow rue, new for 2025 from Proven Winners. So those are going to get much taller than they are right now. We've repeated that Quickfire, Pinky Winky, Quickfire hydrangea combination with the castor bean and the emerald green arborvitaes behind it.
And these castor bean are only shorter because they were not staked. And I now know in our situation that I need to stake them thoroughly.
Yes. And that brings us into kind of our more natural, wild corner of the garden. Again, we've got our Autumn Joy Sedum, which I think something is weird about it, but we're just gonna leave it. Firelight Tibet hydrangeas. This is all getting reworked. Northwind's prairie grass? Panicum grass is definitely getting divided in the spring. We say that every year, but this year we really have to do it because it is starting to split in the middle. Agastache, Crown Princess Margaretta Rose. There is an incredible lemony lace elderberry back there, which was cut to the ground.
Right now, Eric, it is glowing.
It is glowing. And there's a trio of Jackmantii birches back there, which were just planted last fall. This spring, they'll get limbed up. The elderberry will be cut to the ground. And eventually, it's going to, create a beautiful filtered canopy over this area. Serendipity Allium. Look at this Litchfield Angel Rose.
Oh, it's so nice to see that.
So fresh and pretty. Back there, you can see all the milkweed seeds. Look at those milkweed pods.
Lots of them.
Milkweed is so great for the pollinators and the butterflies, but it will show up everywhere in your garden if you plant it, which you might like, but you will pull it all throughout the season as you're weeding.
Eric, for the first time, without stretching, you can see the dwarf king birch.
Oh, you can see the dwarf king birch back
So I'm
there.
just going to point this out. There's the pinky winky hydrangea, and you
Right
see
in
that
front of the
little
goldenrod.
Yep, that little clean. Oh, goldenrod. We have some of that. That's a native. We didn't plant it. The dwarf king birch. It's a shrubbier style of birch tree. I think it's going to look so nice as an anchor in this corner.
We did see in the Chicago Botanic Garden a really interesting way to limb up and prune the bald cypress. So we're going to be doing that this spring. That is underplanted with hardy hibiscus, berry awesome, candy crush, and evening rose. A stand of baptisia. You can see the seed heads right here. Serendipity allium, which I might have already mentioned. Cherry truffles coral bell with icebreaker Korean fir and luminary backlight white phlox. Look at that combination.
That is so rich and gorgeous.
And then a brand new bloom on our mini mauvette, Invincible mini mauvette hydrangea. You can see how all these colors play together so nicely back here. Really thrilled with how all of this is coming together. Should we go down the berm?
Let's go down the berm.
All right. Behind me is Double Take Orange Quince with a Velvet Cloak Smoke Bush back there. Remember we coppiced that one in the spring, hoping to kind of refresh it, and it seems to have worked. Underneath this river birch, sea spray juniper, some lamb's ear to play off of the lamb's ear over there. I'm not thrilled with the variety of lamb's ear that we chose for the garden, so we might do a whole lamb's ear refresh.
I think that's
spring.
a good idea.
I agree. Rose of Sharon, this was orchid satin, and you can see it's forming its seed heads right now. Check out this blue stem. This again is like that cherry red, gorgeous fall color.
Beautiful plant.
The repeated evergreen trees that you're going to see along the berm are green giant arborvitaes. Limelight Prime is alive, obviously, but we did have a giant dry spell, and I forgot to run the sprinklers, and you know, that's gardening.
That's gardening.
Morning light miscanthus grass with a hedge of spirea, purple obelisk beech into opening day viburnum. This is one of my favorite combinations in the garden, the opening day viburnum with the candy corn spirea combination. Really fun. Another Rose of Sharon back there with adagio grass in front, a small hedge of little lime hydrangeas. Black lace elderberry came through this year. It's almost like when we threaten the lives of our plants, they decide to participate because we were really debating removing this, and it's really showed up to the party.
Yes, I think this was groundhog fodder, and at a certain point, the groundhog moved along.
Yes.
And it started to grow.
Ooh, there's a Canadian thistle in here, and I really want to pull it, but I know it will hurt, so we got to remember to get it later.
Okay, we'll get that.
This is Storm Cloud Amsonia, and what's going to happen here is this is going to turn orange in a couple of weeks. Christopher, if you back up a little bit, we can look at the paper bark maple. Look at this.
The bark is incredible. I'll tell you what, this is supposed to be a slow grower, but I think it has done a very nice job.
It really has. This is what the bark looks like a cinnamon almost.
So nice. And this will get a great red color in the fall.
It really will. We have more tough stuff hydrangeas and a pinky winky. This whole area is getting reworked because we are going to be changing a lot of things on the west side of the property, but all of this is getting moved or coming out, and it is being replaced with evergreens that like shade and that like water. So like sarcocoa, dog hobble, what else, Christopher?
Oh goodness.
I thought there was a third.
There was a third one.
But we'll keep you posted on that. But a lot of this is getting moved and getting reworked, so it's going to be zero maintenance. Because right now it's too messy looking for my taste. There's some primrose in there. There's iris in there. We're going to move these hibiscus. So basically everything from here over. This is moving. This will stay. I think the top stuff will stay.
They'll stay.
The Pinky Winky will stay. We're going to move this clematis.
Which you can't even see.
Yeah, we'll leave this grass, but everything else, we'll probably actually leave the Husker's red penstemon.
I think that's a good idea. That
But
doesn't
then
mind it.
anything else in front is all being moved, replaced with low maintenance evergreens. All of these roses, which it was such hard work, they're being relocated. And then this is all being filled in with low maintenance evergreens.
We've been in love with this dahlia patch all season long. I have tagged the 11 tubers I decided to keep. I have been saving some seeds, which I got to clean with Bethany in Chicago. That was so much fun. But I've noticed a couple new ones that took a long time to bloom. Nope, that's not one. Here's the one. This is the one that I kept seeing from the house. Maybe we did show this one, but look at that yellow, poofy, spongy look on top. That's so pretty. I almost want to save this one too, just because it's so unique. But I'll be looking around for seed heads that look like this, that have dried thoroughly, and then all the papery husk will go away so we can save those seeds. I'm going to save seeds from a whole bunch of them, mix the whole thing up, and we'll see what happens. That's the plan. Still loaded up with crab apples on the Prairie Fire crab. Very pleased with how that is doing. The Sugar Shack button bush. I love the blooms on the button bush, and I really love this glossy foliage. It's nice as the centerpiece of this section. Pink mint clematis looks great, even when it's out of bloom. It's just got a little fluffy texture to it. The purple pillar Rose of Sharon here has done just that. It's a purple pillar. Very successful in its job. Right here is the Seaside Serenade Glacier Bay.
Glacier Bay, and boy, does that look terrible.
It certainly does. This is a dark stem, white lace cap Macrophylla hydrangea.
Yes.
And it is looking like something, so I think
It's
we'll
looking
protect
so
it.
rough.
Maybe we'll just give it a little bit of time and see what it does.
Hopefully it looks stronger next year. Otherwise it is coming out.
On its way out. So let's back all the way down this west side. We've done a couple additions and changes here recently. The pufferfish are coming in nicely. Eric has just cleaned up some of this Arctic Fire dogwood with the beautiful red stems. This was kind of taking over the whole area. Up here is Emily Bronte Rose, the beast of the west side of the house.
For sure.
Just gets huge, gorgeous, clean flowers. You can see Eric took out all the annuals in this whole area that were really just looking tired and not so happy. Here is the totally stoked Riptide.
Those are asters.
Stokes aster.
And I ripped one of them in half. So you can see it looks a little worse for the wear, but it'll be totally fine next spring.
Behind that is a Pinky Winky Prime hydrangea. Very tiny specimen that we put in there, but that will fill out to be one of the largest hydrangeas technically in our garden. In front of that is a Blue Feathers Hinoki cypress. When we planted it, it looked kind of like a ball, and I thought that's what its shape would be, but it turns out it's more of a cone shape naturally. So that's going to be really pretty to watch that grow into a nice icy color. There's Invincible Ruby here.
Newly planted. All of this was newly done.
Yeah, this area, it still looks really fresh. It obviously will need a nice layer of compost and drip irrigation that's adjusted, but that'll come in the springtime. Underneath the Ember Waves Western Arborvitae is Night Embers sedum. And you get that dark foliage with the pink blooms under this really beautiful glow.
The Night Embers sedum really transplanted nicely.
Yeah, I'm impressed with the fact that it didn't flop, it just did its thing. Over here, you can see a little Sprinter boxwood tucked in. This is all just freshly cleaned out. The Wollerton Old Hall Rose has done exceptionally well this year and grow straight up, which I need to train that horizontal. I'm gonna need more trellises. A very, very successful planting, a transplant, is the dwarf pink reblooming lilac.
Bloomerang pink.
Yeah, it's really nice. I'm very happy with that. This was the Stay Classy, this was the Stay Classy Purple Leaf Sand Cherry, that we planted, and within a day, the bunnies had got to.
Apparently, it's a very tasty cherry.
So I put those cages on there, and I'm seeing some leaves come back. Fingers crossed that these will just bounce back and be perfectly fine. The wabi-sabi Japanese maple, when we did this planting, it got a little limb up, just a little bit. I think it looks nice and tidy. This will take a very long time to get to about 8 feet tall, maybe 20 years. We have some Invincibelle lace in here underneath the white pillar Rose of Sharon. We transplanted some verbena. It's barely hanging on. All it needs to do is be alive enough to make some seed and drop them.
Which it is doing, because look at the ground.
Oh, there they are.
So everything on this side right now is looking a little crusty, because it is. It was all transplanted.
It truly is. The Hollywood juniper, I'm so happy that we staked it. We're going to leave that stake on for another season until it's officially like really rooted in the ground, then it'll grow straight.
Oh, and this is where I want to put the Sun King Aurelia division.
It
looks like the seedling I transplanted there is taking, so that's good.
That's good to know. So it likes the spot. Very good. The Shiloh Splash River Birch is looking great, putting on a little bit of fall color. This Limelight Prime, I think it loves this particular area of sun. Nice and sturdy stems here. Really nice, beautiful pink. And again, love to pair hydrangeas with hydrangeas. So below that is the Let's Dance Can Do, my personal favorite hydrangea, putting out some new fresh blooms in the end of September. I love that plant. And then my favorite new addition annual of the year, being enjoyed by lots of pollinators, is the Unplugged White Salvia. It has kind of a silvery sage tone to it. It is performed very well, and this is taller than I thought Unpluggeds get. So it's happy. It's a very, very happy plant. This is another Adagio miscanthus on the newer side to this spot, but what a perfect addition to soften the corner by using this miscanthus grass. It doesn't get so tremendous. The Weeping Norway spruce. This year, I did not have to stake the new growth because it grew straight up. Normally, I have to keep it staked, but this year it decided to send out 1 little leader upright. So hopefully next year it starts to do some more weeping for us. Firelight Tidbits looking absolutely beautiful. You've got new bloom, faded bloom, dark pink bloom, in the middle, all the different flavors of that. And those bring you right over to Gabriel Oak. This David Austin rose is so vivid and so fragrant.
Fall container update. Look at the Rise Up Lilac Days rose is wild.
It's bonkers.
This is so much more sprawling than we ever anticipated it getting. I don't even know if we'll keep it in these containers, but it was really fun for this season. Underneath it is a coral mum, which I'm really, really pleased with that color. I think it's a nice addition to the garden. Look right here. Yellow center. We tried to pull it in with a yellow mum. I don't know if I love it, but I like it enough.
It's cute.
I do kind of wish we did like a pinky purple. Maybe next year. The ornamental pepper, the ornamental kales. I'm happy with this combination, which brings us over to this one where we repeat the coral mum. We have an ornamental millet, more kale. Come on up here, Christopher. Check out the yellow mums in the planter heads.
Perfect.
Or the head planters. And then again, more millet, coral mums, ornamental peppers, and ornamental kale. A nice stand of Invincibelle wee whites. And they're called wee whites because they bloom white, but they also stay very small.
Love them.
Hence the wee, very tiny. Purple fountain grass is shining this time of year. This is exactly why we plant this grass here every year. It's an annual for us, so it does need to be replaced each year. Blue kazoo spirea, adding lots of color and texture. Firelight Tidbit hydrangeas. Definitely some burn on these from the sun. Again, we got a little lackadaisical about watering in the fall, and that's okay. All of these will be cut back anyway. There is another hedge of winter gem boxwoods back there, which seem very happy this year.
It's so funny. Some things did not like the heat and the water variation. Some things did.
And there's a really cute cat in the window. That's Frederick.
Yeah,
He
Frederick
is
is
sleeping. Tricolor Beach underplanted with Vanessa Bell Rose, which again, look at how the yellow rose, as it's been a little bit cooler, the blooms are a little more yellow as opposed to white. And then Christopher, if you back way up, to my right, we have our river birches with the Walker's Low catmint, winter gem boxwoods, and more wee white hydrangeas, repeating from up by the house. And over to my left, vanilla strawberry panicle hydrangea. I really like this one, has a nice dark stem. Stays pretty upright too. Underplanted with some Bidens. This is
Campfire marshmallow.
Campfire marshmallow. A dwarf pampas grass, believe it or not. Hardy in our zone. Red fox katsura tree, newly planted this year. Really excited. Very narrow columnar habit. It's going to get some really cool fall color on it. Spring Grove arborvitae. This whole green wall is really starting to come together for us. Our North Pole arborvitaes, which have grown a ton this year.
They've
really
did.
grown quite a bit. Strongbox ilex and a blue point juniper, which brings us over to back where we started. Thank you so much for joining us on our full September garden tour. Again, I'm Eric.
And I'm Christopher.
And we're Grow For Me Gardening.
Thanks for growing with us.